All right, hello, Internet. Welcome to Farcast, the science fiction and fantasy themed mech podcast type thing. Thingamajig, I don't have my usual opening line written in front of me, so as usual, I've completely forgotten it because I don't know what I'm doing. So we're going to be talking about Battletech tonight. Specifically, we're going to talk about the clans, the most controversial uh, addition to the Battletech universe, at least until we get to the Dark Age stuff.
Oh
So,
god, and the Jihad era.
no, we're not going to go off on that tangent right off the bat. We gotta stay on target. We gotta worry about this particular issue, and then we can try to address the jihad later. But before we begin, I'm your host Ian, and with me tonight I have Sirdubdub, who is currently drawing a crazy bearded guy.
Crazy bearded screaming man.
Yes, yes. I'm sure
Looks
he's
like Jordan Ledoux.
It does a little bit.
Hello, mech fans. It's me in picture form.
fantabulous, and we also have.
Pow! Welcome to the sky.
That's awesome. We also have Lecogular.
Hello.
All right. So for those that don't know, I'm going to go into a whole big spiel about the clans. I spent like 20 minutes writing out a few pages of text, so I'm going to go through that. The clans are actually fairly complicated, so if you're not familiar with Battletech, prepare to be confused. All right. The clans are a faction in the fictional Battletech setting, as I previously stated, acting as a technologically superior invader towards a nigh-feudal post-apocalyptic society known as the Inner Sphere. As the lore goes, when the clans were first encountered, they were considered so advanced and possessed so many uncanny abilities that many people at first thought they were a race of aliens coming to conquer humanity from beyond the periphery of inhabited space. Few people, if anyone, actually saw any of the clanners outside their mechs, and given that they were known to utilize giant armored suits with 2-meter tall pilots as their main infantry, this wasn't really a far-fetched idea as any sort of explanation. Rather than aliens, it turns out the clans were actually the descendants of a long-lost army of a pre-apocalyptic civilization called the Star League. By separating themselves from the war-torn humanity for hundreds of years, the clans were able to advance their technology to levels previously considered impossible, as well as reform their society into a strict militarized kind of fascist state broken into the eponymous clans. In order to increase the efficacy of their warriors, these clans then began to use eugenics to create super soldiers. So, think it's sort of a hybrid of all the fears of the 80s when this came out. So you got crazy Nazis and Soviets with weird mishmash societies where there's no real economy. It's just all about war, and we're working together, and everyone shares everything for the glory of the state. Everything that a writer in the 80s would think was a villain the Americans had to fight, because this was written by Americans for the most part. Upon invading the Inner Sphere, who were basically possessed the tech level of the 1980s to 15th century peasants, the clans utterly dominated almost every scenario. They just invaded planet after planet, completely destroying everyone in their way with ease. They had better fighters, better durability. Their pilots wouldn't overheat as quickly when their mechs began to essentially cook because they fired their weapons. That's a big mechanic in Battletech. The mechs heat up when they fire their guns too much. They have quicker reaction times, so they can react faster when threats are presented to them. They have greater range for their weapons, stronger armor, lighter equipment, so they can get more equipment and have bigger arsenals. And their assault mechs, which are the big, bulky ones, are capable of moving at the same speed of some of the Inner Sphere's light mechs, which are the tiny, scrawny ones with almost no weapons. In short, the clans essentially had an advantage in every single category possible, except for one. Due to a strictly structured warrior caste society, in which might makes right and honor duels decide nearly all political decisions, the clans found their strategic abilities atrophying. This degradation became so bad that over the centuries, to the point that they seem to have lost the ability to conduct even the rudimentary military strategies such as basic ambushes, flanking maneuvers, and even bold-faced lies, proved to be effective against them. It was through lying and deceit that the Inner Sphere was essentially able to halt the clan invasion by uniting their feuding factions and tricking the clans into a large-scale honor duel on the planet Tukiid, which the clans lost and kept their promise to not invade the Inner Sphere, at least until Fossa decided to get new writers. The matchup between this hyper-advanced society and what were little more than post-apocalyptic scavengers proved to be extremely interesting from a narrative perspective. However, this came with a major flaw. Battletech is a game, not purely a story. Game balance needs to be enjoyable, and with one faction possessing extreme advantages against another, it's a real challenge to keep the experience fun. The clan's primary weakness, their poor strategy, is something that's nearly impossible to implement with live players, as it's difficult to have players dumb themselves down to play fair with others. The clans are extremely controversial because of this poor balancing decision. So the topic of tonight is this big question: how do you rebalance the clans to actually be fair? Do you keep the pre-existing lore intact as much as possible, or do you try something unique, or what would you do? And I'm out of breath because I went on for way too long.
That's a good synopsis, though. Well done.
Yeah.
I left out a bunch, but you know.
Yeah, that's basic. That's probably the best way to explain the insanity and ridiculous amount of lore Battletech has in less than 3 lifetimes.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot that actually caused the clans, and there was reasons for the clans actually becoming a thing, and there were things before the clans, and it gets confusing.
Yeah, I tried to keep it as simplified as possible because I don't want to go into all
You
the
did an amazing
backstory.
job.
You managed to fend off at least 4 actually comments.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, don't worry, they're still going to be there. Just scroll down.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we'll-
can
we're
already
just-
hear
we'll
the
just have
keyboard
s-
warriors fighting in the distance.
We'll have slightly fewer.
Yeah.
Maybe.
In any
We'll
case,
see.
on to the topic of actually balancing the clans. Idea I had, and I believe this was actually somewhat implemented for MechWarrior Dark Age, was that clans specifically could not use a certain amount of units past a certain point given the battle size. Like, if you had a ridiculously large battle, you can only use X number of units and for basic honor, but if you used less units, you could get more honor. Honor was weird in MechWarrior Dark Age, and essentially there was a unit cap for the clans, because using more units than deemed necessary seemed dishonorable. And I've never seen any rule about that in actual Battletech handbooks. Granted, I only have a few, but yeah.
There is a little bit of a rule that's sort of like that. Basically, there's unit values for...
Yeah, battle value, and
Yeah.
clans have double battle value, but still.
Yeah, it's not perfect, and I think it's a little inorganic to simply have you always use less than your opponent. That just feels a little too artificial, which I know the clans are 100% supposed to feel artificial. So for me, I would want to mix it up a bit more with how the actual tech works.
Yeah, you want to go into that a little bit?
Make me.
I do have a rake somewhere around here.
Oh. Well, one thing that can do that's sort of related is that in MechWarrior Online, they have the Inner Sphere against the clans, and the clans have a lot of these advantages. But in order to balance it out, they do little things like all the clan weapons do more damage, they have better range, and they have more ammo for every ton that they put in, because that's how ammo is measured in the game, is by tons. But instead of having a complete advantage, all their weapons take longer to actually deal out that damage. So they might have a laser that does 10 points of damage, whereas the Inner Sphere only does 8 points of damage. But it takes, instead of 3 seconds to do that much damage, it might take 6. So they have to really maintain their accuracy. They have to hold their weapon on the enemy a bit more. their LRMs, instead of firing all in one giant volley, fire out in a big stream that takes a few seconds to fire. Their autocannons. Yeah.
And also makes those LRMs slightly more susceptible to LAMS fire because they're coming at it in streams rather than a big old wave.
Yeah, anti-missile systems are more effective, and it gives more time for locks to be lost, and so the rest of the missiles might not find their target. Autocannons, instead of doing 20 points of damage in a single bullet that goes out, it takes, 5 or 6 projectiles. And I think it's an interesting way of doing it. I don't think it's totally an even matchup. They also go against lore a bit by having a lot of the clan's weapons generate much greater levels of heat when they fire. So even though clan mechs are essentially defined in a lot of the lore as running cool, they tend to overheat and receive internal damage much more easily, which balances things out.
That's something I've noticed along all of the MechWarrior games, all the way from MechWarrior 2, is that clan mechs run ridiculously hot. Back in MechWarrior 2 Mercenaries, actually, one of my favorite builds was to get like a light mech that was ridiculously fast and fit as many flamers as I could onto it, so they would just burn to death.
Huh.
Yeah, stuff like that's really fun. MechWarrior 2 maybe had the most lopsided balance because in
It was a single-player game.
Yeah, and in the vanilla MechWarrior 2 and Ghostbear's Legacy, the Inner Sphere and clans had the exact same weapons. It was just literally the same thing. So all the Inner Sphere mechs actually had clan weapons, but because they were technically supposed to weigh more, they wouldn't have as many. So all the Inner Sphere mechs would have like the weaponry of a light or medium clan mech, and that was how they balanced it. But that was clearly just because they didn't plan on having people actually play as the IS mechs.
Just like now that you've brought it up, and now that I'm really thinking about it, I do kind of appreciate the design that went into PGI's implementation of clan weaponry.
Yeah, it's
Like
surprisingly nice.
PGI kind of like did a game design there. That's really cool how it like enforces that sort of like stand out in the open bravado that you expect from the clans, and at the same time definitely like rewards a player's like ability to just like do basic tracking and like good positioning, and like it feels like it has a bit of like a higher skill ceiling, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
At the same time, and like you have inner sphere weapons that do more damage in small, or like they do less damage in smaller bursts, therefore encouraging sort of like hit and run sort of tactics. Kind of, it's a good idea to like mechanically reinforce the different sort of like ethos that the two sides have.
Yeah, it gets a little awkward when you have things like in faction play, you have a set amount of drop weight for each side. Like I think the inner sphere gets 280 or something. They keep changing the value, and the clans get like 240, which is a pretty massive weight disparity once you add things up. You usually see a ton of lights on the clan side and a bunch of mediums and heavies on the inner sphere as the match progresses. So it feels like the clans have one life in faction play. Like they either win on the first pass, because you only get 4 lives in that game mode, and if they fail on that first pass, they just get stomped the rest of the match because they only have little tiny light mechs.
Well, that still sort of like feeds into the narrative of
Yeah.
clans. Like the clans like start a fight with a really, really good right hook, but then if you actually get like if you're able to take that and like continue the boxing match, they will fold first.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun.
But clans are not built for attrition warfare.
Yeah.
They just aren't.
It just has the issue of when you're playing as the clans, when you look at the kill screen, all of a sudden when you see the little red counter, which is your team's death, tick up to 12, you go, oh shit, we've lost this match. and a lot of people will end up quitting the match, and then oh no, now you're down a whole player. Essentially, an extra three mechs are dead. So now you kind of get screwed over, and it snowballs a bit quickly. But that's not a game balance thing necessarily. That's players being kind of butthurt and leaving, which is a different issue. They could just have players respawn a bit more to make up for those lost lives, but I think that's getting off topic. Another thing is with the clans in MWO, the jump jets for the clans are extremely overpowered and not at all balanced. Whereas with the IS mechs, if you fully upgrade your mech with jump jets, it will barely be able to get off the ground. You'll just kind of skate along, and you won't really go anywhere. But with the clans, you have one jump jet, and your mech turns into a rocket ship. It just flies off into space.
That's something I figured out the hard way when I first got my Nova.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I should probably put a few jump jets. Why can't I remove the jump jets? Okay.
Yeah,
I press the space bar. Why am I in orbit?
And you found the skybox.
That's another thing, is that clan mechs, most of them, the Omni mechs anyways, have pods, which instead of customizing your mech fully, you basically have Legos. You can stick, the arm from this variant, which can mount 2 lasers, or I can have the arm from this other variant that has a missile launcher and a ballistic slot. I can mix and match from every part, the arms, torsos, legs, everything but the center, to make whatever mech you want, but you can't remove equipment like jump jets. So, but the Inner Sphere can do whatever they want, essentially, besides change the hard points.
A bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice little trade-off, I think. I appreciate that.
And it also fits into the lore, I think, a bit better, because with Inner Sphere mechs, with enough brute force and, money, you could basically modify a catapult to do just about anything. Then again, that's just inherent of the catapult's design, but that's a video and discussion for another day. Whereas with clan mechs, well, they used exclusively Clan Coyote space magic to get their customization systems done.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, and let's face it, with the Inner Sphere, they had the ability to make Frankenmechs, which is essentially take pieces from entirely different designs and just weld them together, and that's your new machine.
Yeah, that got a little crazy sometimes.
Yeah, but that's fun. I'm okay with that. So, my throat's giving out, so Sirdubdub, why don't you describe what it is you're working on right now, because I'm curious.
Actually working on a commission for someone. Apparently, we have this is a Wolverine pilot who is. Oh, I can actually pull up the rest of the image. Who's supposed to be basically taking another mech and bending it around backwards and like ripping its limbs off, and this dude's supposed to be like yelling like really loudly and exuberantly in German, "I'm making the pretzels!"
Sounds like the
amazing.
Lance.
Yeah, so it's just a fun dumb thing to work on. So it's a good night.
Yeah, I like it.
I've got maybe a thing for, because I'm going to probably step in it here because I've never actually played a game of tabletop BattleTech. But do the clans and the Inner Sphere share basically like similar victory conditions if you have a game with them?
Victory conditions is based on what the scenario is, but achieving those victory conditions can change depending on house rules. Like, I know some people who enforce a honor system upon people who use clan tech. What I was describing earlier, where you could only deploy a certain amount of units depending on the battle size.
Yeah.
Or like a certain skill group of warriors. Like, you wouldn't send, a 4 squad of elite guys to deal with a small outpost.
Right. Yeah, because like that's sort of how I would see something like that working. Have you guys ever heard of the game in development called Tactical Breach Wizards?
I have not. That sounds interesting.
That sounds interesting.
I
Steam
will.
I need to search that up.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull this up. Tactical Breach Wizards is like kind of like an XCOM style get into a room, take out all the baddies in the room, and leave using a set of very characterized and very charismatic different magic users. So you have like a witch cop, you have like a cleric with a riot shield and like a giant like burner of incense that they use as a mace. So like different characters with different abilities, right? And the the way that the head designer is sort of like working on like character progression is every character will be able to earn a certain amount of like bonus points inside their own like inside a level, right? And they do that by essentially acting in character. And when they act in character, they earn confidence points. And when they've earned enough confidence points, you can unlock like cosmetics that they have had in their closet the whole time, but now they're confident enough to actually wear it. So that's just a brilliant brilliant like little silly idea, and I love it. But you have an idea of like one of these characters is like you are not allowed to use, or you're discouraged from using an excessive amount of force in taking down an opponent. So you could toss a magic flashbang and then like tap someone with a baton, and that takes the guy down, and that's like the exact amount of HP, the exact amount of like damage that dude needed to take in order to like go down. And getting closest to that goal, it will give you more bonus points, but knocking them out of a window will not, unless you're playing as the character that likes knocking things out of windows. So like I could see something like the clans being balanced in that you have a stated maximum battle value for whatever sort of like lance or team that you're putting together, and you can gain honor points by taking a lower battle value. And you can gain additional like honor points by only engaging one target at a time, doing that whole like dueling style thing. Uh, the number of turns that you are in visual contact with some sort of enemy mech, being like stating like you're not ducking down into cover or anything like that. Maybe that could be a form of encouraging play by rewarding the player. Yeah,
I like it. It sounds pretty in depth.
that's just the thing that popped into the head.
Yeah, and speaking of that sort of idea, it sort of reminds me of MechWarrior 5 when you're, well, not necessarily MechWarrior 5, but like all the mercenary games when you go in and you're fighting an enemy mech and you really want to salvage it, you're like, okay, I'm going to kill this guy just as hard as I need to. I'm going to, try and shoot for the cockpit, nothing else. I don't want to damage that precious, expensive engine. Or maybe I'll take out the legs.
Yeah,
Stuff like that. That's really fun.
stuff that encourages you to like take or do like the less than the total amount and like run a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah,
It's always fun.
yeah, similar to I believe what they had set up, at least with the mech tech bundles for MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries, where dynamic salvage was a thing. So if you shot out the legs of an Atlas, you had a higher chance of salvaging that Atlas compared to if you just cored it and deleted the center torso.
Yeah, that sounds great. I did not know that they had put that system in. Man, MechTech was so cool.
Yeah. Or at least it felt like that, given how the salvage worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Battletech was definitely an improvement on MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries. The only thing I wish they had added was custom missions, which I will always complain about, because I appreciate having, 100 extra new mechs to do whatever I want with. I would just like more missions to
More stuff
play
to
around
do
with.
with them.
Yeah.
Granted, I think there is actually like a mission maker for MechWarrior 4.
There is, and it is apparently not incredibly intuitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it's not the best.
I tried it back in the day, and I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. Have you guys ever heard of Mech Storm?
I might have. I
Next,
might have.
Mech Storm was like a separate, like smaller Mech Warrior 4 modding community. They came out with like the NetMech 4 mod, which basically replaced all of Mech Warrior 4 Mercenaries mechanical rules, like all of their values with like Battletech tabletop values, boosted jump jets, made heat a much more of an issue, made like really, really intense AI. One of their sort of like offshoot groups was Mechstorm, which their like claim to fame was actually making custom missions, but the custom missions were gigantic, like planet shaking battles with like 50 mechs on each side, and you're just like one dude in it.
Yeah, I remember this. I remember watching whole videos on YouTube now where it was just like I remember the specific one. It was just this big open desert, and there were literally hundreds of mechs going back and forth, and aircraft and tanks. It felt like a whole giant BattleTech battle, which sounds
sounds
weird to
like
say.
Marlowe Gap 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Totally.
A lot like that, yeah. If there's one like a Battle of Trondheim is the one that I remember.
Yeah. I especially remember the base capture mission for the rogue ending of MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries.
Yeah.
That was fun times.
Oh yeah, the one where you're like where it's on outreach and you're in that on that desert planet. And you just bring all of the best stuff that you've
Yeah,
been.
you just bring like 2 assault lances.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, doesn't House Liao show up during that?
I believe so.
Yeah, it's either Liao or Kurita, and I think it's Liao.
I think it's Liao,
Yeah.
and I have to go back and play it. And you don't actually interact that much with House Kurita.
I don't think they show up at all in that game, now that I think about it.
I mean, I think they show up for like 1 or 2 missions. But that's if you're playing Northwind Highlanders, I think.
Huh.
Wait, no, damn it, I'm thinking of Mech Assault again.
Oh, I was confused.
I just remember that point, the very Liao thing that happens in Mercenaries, where there's like a diplomatic talk, and you're just supposed to be an honor guard, and
Oh, yeah.
like the Liao representative's limousine just fucking explodes, and then there are mechs everywhere.
That was such a fun mission to do in an Atlas.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's missions like that that I sorely wish were in MechWarrior 5, and if I don't stop myself, I'm going to talk about that for an hour.
Yeah.
Although I do love the fact and the way that they did for doing certain side objectives in for certain missions, like for that delegate talk mission. When shit goes sideways on the previous mission, if you saved Bulldog Lance, they would come and save you.
They would come and help
for
you.
that mission.
Yeah. That's adorable.
Yeah. And there was also another mission where you didn't get paid at all, but it was like a ridiculous boost to your notability, or like I don't know.
Yeah, you get good karma points. You get a
Yeah.
reputation.
Yeah, that was a fun mission to do because I had an interesting career for MechWarrior 4 Mercs.
You know, it makes me think of something. To tie that in back to what we were talking about with balancing the clans, it could be interesting if in a longer term conflict, the more the clans win, the more they, whittle down the inner sphere forces, the more uprisings there are. Like resistance fighters get added to the inner sphere force.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's just the Battletech animation all over again.
Yeah, but then like if the inner sphere is doing really well and the clans send in their reinforcements, because they're not going to let the IS teach them a lesson. And I don't know, it sounded more clever in my head.
I mean, like if you're talking long-term campaign, just quite simply, clan tech is more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clan Tech is more expensive, though they do have advantages when it comes to repairing stuff.
Mm.
Because Who knew that a 200-plus year technological gap would mean slaughter when they finally fought again?
Yeah, that's
Actually, Alex Iglesias, the concept artist for PGI, the guy that like, came up with most of their mechs, had a good point the other day in the MechWarrior 5 Discord channel. Basically saying, yeah, the clans, they had a 250-year technological advantage, and they had the ability to pour all of their like a significant amount of resources into developing like new and better weapons. And what did they do with it? They made a Gauss rifle 3 tons lighter.
yeah. Though if we're gonna look at it with that critical eye, we could say, why didn't they just keep going and colonize the rest of the galaxy and just who
Right.
cares about this dirt ball, but called Earth? But what
Terra.
you gotta look at it with fantasy goggles.
Yeah.
Yeah. One idea I had that I was thinking of earlier is that I would make all of clan tech be advanced and powerful, but only as powerful as the Inner Sphere's recovered lost tech. So they would have like ER lasers, but it would be the same as the Inner Sphere's ER lasers, and Artemis missiles, but it would be the same and back and forth. And then they would have new weapon varieties that the Inner Sphere would copy, and they would essentially become the same over time. Because even after the clan invasion, there's still a great disparity between IS and clan tech.
Yeah.
So I think that could be a way to, work it out long term. And in a tabletop game where you're sort of using your imagination to fill in the gaps, you're just saying in your head, this weapon is the equivalent of this weapon. You don't need to go into it with as much detail as a video game.
Yeah.
Something else that could work, and this is kind of what they did in lore anyway, was especially in defensive situations, is just kind of dig in and throw everything all at once, just continuously. Specifically, it was the tactic of defense in depth by Alexander Vogt, who wasn't actually Alexander Vogt, because
Also known as a hippity hoppity, get off my property.
also known as, I am the leader of the Comstar Guard, you will all die, all of your base are belong to us.
Looks like you guys are folked.
Uh,
Eh,
Yeah.
they used the tried and true strategy of having more guns, also known as combined arms warfare, aka having more guns.
Actually, in reality, they just used the Soviet method. Throw bodies at the problem until the problem stopped being a problem.
oh yes, the Zap Brannigan strategy.
I don't know. I
But,
do have
yeah.
like, just from like a writing perspective, I think I kind of have a problem with Comstar stopping the clans at Tukid, but we can get into that at a later point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the clan invasion sort of ends on a whimper.
Yeah.
It's incredibly short overall. I don't think it's a full 2 years.
Nope. It's they're first discovered in 3049, and Tukid happens like, what is it, May 3052?
Yeah,
Real quick.
I think what I would have done is have the clan invasion be that generation's major conflict. Like
Absolutely.
it would just have everyone go through a full generation, let's say 10, 15 years, completely redefine the inner sphere into something different, have it be a unique period. Instead, it feels like we hit the reset button almost as quickly as we got something new and interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it does make some sense because the distance between the clans and their advances and how far they got, their logistics was basically just foobar from the get-go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, though it could have been interesting if they had done something crazy and given the clans like replicator machines, so they could do all of this stuff with the same technology, but they could literally just pick up dirt from the planet they were on and turn it into food and water and whatever it was they needed. And so they essentially would have unlimited support for their soldiers, but for some reason their replicators wouldn't let them create mechs or other technology.
Mechs are a little bit too complicated for that.
Yeah,
Something
that
like that.
and they're not exactly biological. Food and water is to extents.
You could make a meat mech.
I mean,
And that's
that's
just
that's
called a Titan.
yeah, that's what Mimir is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mimir is basically just electric muscle.
Yeah, it's just electric meat.
Yeah, I mean, literally, that's what it is. I learned that in my biology class back in high school.
Your biology class taught Battletech lore?
Well, myomers, because myomers are an actual thing in
Yeah, so are
certain
artificial
creatures.
muscles,
Uh-huh.
which is what Mimir is a subset of.
Yeah. Stuff like worms, they're basically all myomer.
Yeah, but back to balancing clans. One thing that IS sides could get, especially on defensive sides, is the ability to, without the clans knowing, lay traps and ambushes. Like they can place a infantry battalion or like a mech here, and the clans won't know it, and it will only show up when the defender wants it to, or when the clans stumble into it by accident.
Yeah.
You know,
You just have to have like the player running inner sphere to like draw out the map and then draw where they put all of their units and just like have that hidden.
Yeah,
So you can't be like, oh yeah, no, that's totally where I put those guys.
yeah. Like that would also probably include like an overseer. But that also gets a little more complicated depending on how you're using stuff. Like if you're using inch movement rather than hex movement.
yeah, you mentioned something interesting, which I think could actually affect the balance in the gameplay. Infantry. The clans don't have them. They have
They have elementals, and that's about it.
They
Yes.
have elementals and old people.
yes,
Be right back.
and so essentially, elementals are really awesome, but they can only fulfill certain functions. They can't do things like pick up and carry equipment with any kind of tactile efficiency or skill. They only have big
Right.
claws, so they can't manipulate little things as well as people can, and they're kind of bulky, even though they have greater maneuverability with those jump jets. But since they're bigger, I know the pilots are whatever you'd call the suit operators, the actual
I think
elementals
they're
themselves.
they're also called elementals,
Yes,
which is very clear and not confusing.
yeah. The operators, the elementals, are 2 meters tall, so I think the full suit is like 2.5, maybe even 3 meters tall with those big rocket launcher packs.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be squeezing into small spaces. So the infantry can, have little hidey holes and crawl through rubble and have all
Defeat
kinds of cool
via
things.
ducting.
Yeah, they could have like trenches like in the Battle of Hoth, just, that can help them avoid fire. That'd be really
Yeah.
complicated to introduce in a video game, but it'd be fun.
I am back. Sorry about that.
No worries, welcome back. We were just talking about how the IS could use actual infantry to their advantage, whereas the clans essentially only have elementals.
Yeah, they don't even really have tanks or aircraft. Like they've got a few, but not many.
Not during the invasion. There were no official clan tanks. There were some aircraft, but no tanks.
Yeah, it was just mechs, elementals, and aerospace. Which only gets you so far, especially in rough terrain.
Yeah, I like that the aerospace fighters are all named after like Mongolian tribes, because they're supposed to be like the Mongolian horde coming in to conquer your lands. You have like the Avar and Kyrgyz and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's a fun little touch.
Something else that I've also noticed, at least this is just clans in general, is that the retrofit designs, like the Jenner 2C, Rifleman 2C, and Warhammer 2C, they do some weird things. Like the Warhammer 2C is fairly straightforward. Replace the PPCs with ER PPCs and just, general change the structure and stuff. Jenner 2C was weird. They made it entirely missile based.
It
But,
also keeps
yeah.
the same tonnage as its
Yeah.
highest design, which is a little odd.
They just beat PGI to the hero mech.
Then there's certain ones. I think the Phoenix Hawk 2C, it actually goes down in tonnage, so it's actually
Huh.
lighter. Um, what is the Phoenix Hawk? 55 tons, and then the
I think
2C
it
is
starts at
45,
45.
something like that. They
I don't
shift
know.
the
Let me
weight.
check Sarna.net.
I can't remember off the top of my head because while I like the Phoenix Hawk a lot in MechWarrior Online, it's one of the designs I've never really cared for.
Yeah,
Looks like a Gundam.
Yeah,
yeah, it definitely has the dude in a suit look, which
yeah.
I couldn't quite do.
It's one of those unseen Japanimation mechs, so that's
Yeah.
understandable.
Phoenix Hawk 2. Ian, this is going to be really weird, but the Phoenix Hawk 2C is 80 tons.
What?
Yes.
Is it?
According to Sarna.net, it's 80 tons.
Oh,
On
shit.
Earth?
Yeah.
What am I
With
thinking of?
twin Ultra AC 10s.
Huh.
What?
Because DACA.
I'm trying to think. There are a few 2C mechs that get lighter in tonnage. I just can't remember which ones. Maybe it was the Shadowhawk.
Go to what?
Yeah, the Shadowhawk gets lighter. I know that's a 50. I know the Shadowhawk is a 50-ton design, and the Shadowhawk 2C is a 45-ton. 4 Streak SRM2s? Interesting choice.
There's also the potentially apocryphal Wolfhound 2C, which is still debated amongst fans whether or not it exists, because they captured Felon Kell's Wolfhound. He was essentially the first one to meet the clans and survive. We see a lot of the clan war unfold from his perspective in the Blood of Kerensky trilogy. But they capture his mech, and instead of just scrapping it, they take it and dissect it and apparently rebuild it into a new mech with clan technology. But we never see a mech like that again. So I'm not sure if there's a Wolfhound 2C or if it was just a single instance.
Well, on Sarna.net, it says the Wolfhound 2C is the rebuilt version of Grinner, Phelan Kell's Wolfhound battle mech. It is unclear whether the design ever achieved full production.
So basically exactly what you just said.
Yeah. So, I'm going to guess it was probably just a one-off. Basically, dissect it, see what makes it tick. And, yeah.
I'm going to just in my head canon, because no one cares about that, but
Yeah.
just because I think it's fun, I would say, yeah, there's totally a Wolfhound 2C. Speaking of that, before I forget, did you know the clans use Inner Sphere mechs?
They do, actually quite regularly.
Yes, and I did not know that because you'd think from, all the games and everything, the clans only use those Omnimechs and those, handful of 2C designs, but it turns out clanners use like Atlases and standard Jetters and Shadowhawks and every single, pre-invasion design. This is before they got desperate after the Operation Bulldog stuff that made them actually hurting for resources.
But yeah, like if you still have it hanging around and your society hasn't bombed itself into oblivion, yeah, why wouldn't you just keep them around?
Yeah. I am curious to know, like, do they replace all that tech with new clan technology? Are they stripping off all the Inner Sphere weapons, or are they using 300-year-old lasers on their stuff?
I think they would switch out the weapons, but they would leave the internal, like, engine structure and armor.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe they would switch the armor for ferrous fibrous.
Yeah, it's stuff like this you can have fun with if you're DMing campaign.
For sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, why improve an Atlas when the Atlas is, well, an Atlas?
Why would you dare try to make an Urban Mech 2C? Why would you mess with perspection?
um,
It is an affront to decency and the natural order of things.
Yeah, the 2C urban mech is definitely inferior to the godly inner sphere urban mech, which is the fastest, most powerful, most maneuverable, and heaviest mech in the inner sphere lineup, as we all know.
the Urban Mech 2C, upon reading into it, isn't actually that terrible.
You shut your
Blasphemy!
mouth.
Like, apocryphal and, distasteful, yes, but from a tactical standpoint, it's, well,
It's an urban
okay.
mech, but a bit better.
Yeah. It's Ultra AC-10 and ER Small Laser.
It literally is just an urban mech, but a bit better.
Also slightly faster.
Man, Dub, I'm just distracted by how well you're shading this guy and his cockpit.
I haven't done like photoreal humans in a while, so
Yeah.
things are looking weird to me.
I could nitpick it, but I know having someone look over your shoulder and criticize something absolutely sucks when you're an artist.
Yeah, I'm sure I will see it when I step back and take a look at it the
Yeah.
second time, third time.
Yeah, I see one major thing that I would change, and it's like literally just click and drag with the morph tool a bit. And you're
Oh,
done.
what do you got?
The helmet seems a little small. It's like his cranium is a little squished, so like make the top of the helmet just a bit taller. Just
Yeah,
use the
it's like
warp.
it's like an old Soviet tanker helmet. Yeah,
Yeah, it looks like it's made out of
Yeah.
leather, which if you're going for that, fine, but just stretch the top a bit,
that's a good call. I'm gonna go ahead and do that.
and the rest actually looks really good.
Thanks.
I like how we've gone from discussing about the clans and how to balance them to just kind of general mech warrior and Battletech stuff.
I do have like this might be just the point to bring it up. I kind of have a beef with the Battle of Tukid as the thing that stops the clan invasion.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
for it.
like it was kind of too well. It was too good.
It's like it feels a little bit like a Deus Ex Comstar, you know?
Yeah.
It's like suddenly, oh yeah, by the way, Comstar has this gigantic Lost Tech army that is going, and like they haven't necessarily been the target of this actual invasion force, but they're going to be the ones that stop it anyway.
Yeah, it was kind of like pulling a giant Uno reverse card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, it makes some sense given Comstar's background.
But at the same time, it's not satisfying from a narrative perspective. No. In my hypothetical rewrite, Comstar and like the Com Guard, they're still like fairly powerful, but they ultimately, like, the Battle of Tukid doesn't happen on Tukid. It actually happens on Earth, and Comstar loses. So the clans have Earth, and all of the successor states have to like actually start working together and try to cut the clan supply lines, surround Terra, and then like from there you just do the exact thing of Operation Bulldog and Serpent, and you just grind the clans out of the galaxy.
Yeah.
On a further note, I thought it would actually be interesting if once they conquer Terra, if all these successor states go and look at each other and like, what the heck do we do now? And one of them
Right.
joins the clans. I think House Liao.
That would be. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Liao or Kurita?
I picked Liao specifically for two reasons. One, they've been crapped on for all of Battletech. They've been villains, and they're basically space North Korea. They're kind of impotent and stupid most of the time.
Yeah,
But they also occupy the southern part of the inner sphere, and the clans invade from the top. So if they invade from the top, get to the center, and instantly they have the center conquered, they've literally split the inner sphere in half. And even though these other houses want to unite, they physically are incapable. And that sets up Act 2 of your big
Yeah.
climactic world
That
climax.
that sounds fantastic.
Davion and Kurita teaming up would be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's half the drama with the characters in the Blood of Kerensky novels is they hate each other. They've spent generations killing each other, and the characters have to, sit in each other's palaces and talk about, okay, we're going to do this. I'm going to treat you like an honored guest, and I have to be your friend now, even though I know you literally killed my father and my grandfather. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
The
yeah,
politics of Battletech get interesting the more you study them. Especially when it comes to the Ameris coup.
yeah, Battletech is very well written for the most part. At least the Battletech novels. Once you get into the MechWarrior Dark Age stuff, it kind of gets hit and miss.
Yeah, well, that's just somewhat due to the age it was written, and also, it's not really Battletech at that point. It's more of just Mad Max, but with walking mechs.
Yeah. I sort of ignore the Dark Age. I like a lot of what it presents as general ideas, new weapons, new mechs. That's fun, but the story just feels like a whole lot of nothing. I've read a few of the books, and I'm just like, I've absorbed nothing. I can't think of a single character I like, or a particular battle, or even the title of a single book, because it just didn't stick.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, Battle of Tukiyid, it's extremely weird in that it's way over described as a major event. You'd think there'd be a lot of war, or a lot of lore and explanation about what was going on. But instead of allowing the player some flexibility to insert their own stuff, they've described literally every single engagement on the entire planet for the entire
Yep.
final battle. And for a homebrew
They
campaign, it's awkward to insert your own stuff because you have to go against canon.
they well actually the entire most important event of the universe.
Yeah, which is why I think that battle works great as the end of the first act leading into something better, but instead it's just the conclusion, and it's kind of boring. It's like if
Yeah.
I don't know, Lord of the Rings ended at Helm's Deep. Like, oh, okay, we pulled things around, and where are we gonna go? Oh, the war's over. All right, everyone go home. Put the ring back on the shelf. Everyone just retire until the next war in 100 years.
Yeah. Honestly, it would have been great if the clans, while still losing at Tukid, would continue to, with the territory that they had gotten, prepare for another invasion.
Hmm.
Just kind of go for round two.
Yeah, I think that's what basically happened with the Refusal War, because Clan Jade Falcon and I forget whoever else, the Crusader clans basically said, screw you guys, we're not honoring this deal, we're just going to invade anyways. And Clan Wolf said, no, I'm the Mary Sue of the clans, I'm going to sacrifice myself and bravely stop all of you by ourselves. And it's like,
Victor
okay.
Steiner Wolf
They did a pretty damn good job. 98% losses for Jade Falcon is basically everyone is dead except for a few guys in mechs.
Yeah,
Everyone is dead except Joanna.
yeah. I mean, that whole war is my favorite war of all of Battletech, and I will complain about it because it's stupid. But I like it.
The Refusal War is very interesting.
Yeah,
It's not the part where you have to guard a convoy. Twice.
at least twice in that Warrior 2. He's like half the missions are escort missions. Maybe that's why I like escort missions and why I want them in MechWarrior 5 so badly.
Been indoctrinated by MechWarrior 2.
Yeah. I mean, that mission with the train, I love that. Little VTOLs in the air. I made a whole animation just referencing that little stupid train. Just love it that much. Yeah, my last animation was an escort mission too. They were escorting a supply of beer, but it's the same concept.
Just as important.
You never realize how much you miss escort missions until they're gone.
Yeah. Oh well.
Especially well-made ones.
There are no well-made escort missions. You know that.
Bioshock would beg to differ, but okay.
Agree to disagree?
Fair enough.
Damn, you make this look easy.
It is just a lot of practice and not much of a social life, I swear to you.
Hey, I have no social life, and look at me now. I just make
You're
garbage.
doing great.
Hey, I'm rambling with 3 strangers on the internet, including myself, because I can't count. And I make potato quality animations, and
They're actually very good, given the fact that very few people make MechWarrior animations.
Just because few people do it doesn't mean I'm good at it. I am the master of it, because I have no competition.
Yeah.
I'll try. Just give me like another 4 years to put together something that's hand drawn again.
I will say this though, Ian. You're like the only person I know to make consistent MechWarrior animations.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
Literally the only one out there.
Well, the one thing I'm tempted to do is include other people's models, not the PGI stuff, because they don't like it when people use their models for non-game related things, but like Dub, sometime I'd totally like to use your Hunchback and Locust model to do something. I don't know what, but I think they're beautiful.
Thanks.
So I'd love to grab them and, I don't know, blow them up. Have my superior models beat the shit out of them or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tear them to shreds. Get that.
I
Yeah.
do like.
If we could figure out a way to get the Lightwave and Blender to talk to each other, definitely, for sure.
I don't think that would ever work, but I would just import the models and rig it all up myself, and retexture them so they'd look like garbage, but the geometry would be much better.
Do you actually use like a single object for your mechs, and then like actually rig and deform the geometry within it?
It's all one object for the most part. So it all has bones, so each weight map part just lets everything move independently. I did when I started out, I had every moving component be a separate object, but that looked terrible, and thankfully I got away from that pretty quickly.
That's exactly what I do.
Really? You would animate with every piece being an individual object?
Yeah, the way that I sort of like build the model at least is every like I have a separate object for like the Hunchback's torso, and then an object for the upper arm, an object for the lower arm, an object for the hand, an object for like each of the fingers, and then those objects are then parented to the bone. So you can still like move the bones around and it moves the mech around, but that way you just never have to mess with like weight mapping or anything, which I could never get to work properly for hard surface models.
Yeah, I think that maybe Lightwave is really, really good at hard surface stuff, but garbage for anything organic. So that might just be the software making it more difficult than it needed to be, because mine's the opposite. Yeah. The one problem is no one uses Lightwave. I may literally be one of the last people on the planet to use it in any capacity.
Yeah.
So I can't like turn to someone and say, hey, you use Lightwave, give me some tips on how this works.
Hey, how do I do this?
Like, I literally have to just hit buttons and hope whatever it is I'm trying to do works. If I try to Google a solution, it'll literally be from 10 years ago in a version I don't have that functions entirely differently.
Yep.
Or something like that. It's just, it's painful, but I can't learn other software, or the other software I want to get is too expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm too much of a coward to do the alternative, but, what can you do?
I've been thinking about for a while about trying to rig up something in Source Filmmaker But
Yeah, good luck with that. I've seen lazy purples break down. I've
Yeah.
seen him fight with the purple laser.
Well, here's the thing. It's not just actually getting the program to work. It's getting it to load a map.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Loading a map is just like a 50-50 chance of, oh god, why is everything fucking purple?
Yeah. Source Filmmaker is extremely powerful, but
Extremely broken at the same time.
it's one of those programs that's made by an engineer that did everything exactly the way they like it, with no fucks given to someone else actually using the program. It's just whatever niche things the devs wanted, they put together, duct taped and glued it all into one program, and that's it. It's really powerful. If you can learn it, it's amazing. But damn, is it awkward to learn, and I've tried and I've given up like 3 times.
Yeah. I've also tried using Gmod, but
Don't use Gmod. That's one thing I have to say. Never use Gmod.
well, I've actually made a couple mech models for Gmod, given they look terrible, but hey, they live.
Yeah, Gmod's one of those things. It's like, I don't know, slightly more complicated Minecraft. You can technically put things together in whichever way you want, but you're not going to be making anything you really want to show off.
What's your superpower? I make realistic, dramatic cinema in Gmod.
It's been done, but you're probably not going to have a good time doing it, and it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
By the time
It
you
is-
learn how to do it, you should have just learned something else.
Yeah.
Blender.
Blender.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
everyone learn Blender. If you want to do this stuff, just get Blender. I started on Blender. I wish I had stuck with it. Please save your sanity.
Yeah. The UI is kind of terrible, but there are ways to fix that. So
It has gotten slightly better with the latest updates. The ones that coincidentally broke all my models, but that's fine. Honestly, I'm like I don't hold a grudge against it, because it was definitely worth, like, the things that I lost are definitely worth, like, they're not worth the things that everyone else gained.
yeah, I've been meaning to learn how to use Blender.
Do
Hey,
it, do it, do
do
it.
it.
2.8.
I used it a long time ago to make a USS Enterprise model, like really simplistic, but that was back in like, oh god, 2015,
Mm.
2016.
When you say that year, and I'm like, wait, that was like a year ago. That's really recent. You shouldn't have
That was
forgotten all your
4
skills.
years ago.
Oh no, 2015 was 5 years ago. Holy fuck.
Yep.
I feel like the that Nazi at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, or Last Crusade, where he drinks from the wrong grail and just starts shriveling
Yep.
with old age. No, stop it, time. Why can't it be 1995 again? Granted, I would have been 2 years old at the time, but I'd rather take that. But yeah, your painting, drawing, whatever it is you're doing is looking really good.
Hey, thanks.
Did you start just before we started the podcast?
No, I actually had, I had that image done.
Oh wow, yeah, you've definitely done a
Yeah.
lot.
I've basically gone in and I'm just like redrawing this dude in a cockpit. So all of this that is currently on the screen right now, of like the detailed bits of the dude in the cockpit, those are just tonight.
Wow. Yeah, if you zoom out, it looks more and more like a black and white photograph. Like, you're really good at this.
Yeah, it's ridiculously well made.
Thanks, guys.
I mean, it's nothing compared to my drawings, but pretty good.
I mean, it's good for a mere mortal. So
Yeah. I mean, I put it on my fridge for a day just to make you happy, and then I throw it in the garbage when you're off at school.
mm,
Don't worry about the alarms, nothing's fine.
We shall resist the urge to panic. I don't know why, but I really like the 3 lights you have in the back, that gradient going up.
what is going on with our zoom window? Oh, the little palette that I have. That's literally just here's the 3 colors that you want to use to like make everything somewhat consistent. That's what the darkest dark is going to be. That's what the lightest light is going to be.
All right. Well, I like it. It looks like a part of the mech's technical doodads stuff. That's a word.
We're going for. I'm trying to do like a weird crossover of like an Alex Iglesias and this guy called Neskane who does art for Blizzard for like a bunch of Overwatch. His like main stand his like iconic thing is just big beefy dudes with beards.
Yes, the average periphery man.
Yes, exactly.
What you need to do is add a zipper on the front of this guy's suit and have it down and have just a bunch of chest hair spilling out. So he's a real man. He's a Viking.
Oh my god! I think this dude, like this guy, might actually go for that. I like that idea.
Yeah, you should totally suggest it.
I'm actually just gonna go in here, on his actual paint layer, and I'm just gonna let's paint out this little armored bit and give that a bit of a dip, and we'll have a little bit of 80s chest hair. Let's do this.
Yeah, it's a little bit of gender equality. All the hot female pilots have their cleavage showing. All the dudes have their bountiful chest hair spilling out.
And their majestic beards.
I will completely and like honestly admit I really do like the sort of like change in art direction over the last couple of years for Battletech and MechWarrior, specifically regarding pilots. Because if you notice, like in Harebrained Schemes Battletech and like all of the PGI MechWarrior games, it's like a person in a flight suit now, and not someone in just like running shorts, and that's it.
Yeah, and I know that was literally the canon. Like they would just wear running shorts and the
I
cooling
know it's the
vest and be
canon, but
nude.
it's the canon because it's 80s and you want to have scantily clad sweaty people. I get that. I get that,
Yeah,
and I get that it sells, but I don't know. It's just like was never my thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I always
Personally,
prefer the fights.
I prefer fully clothed sweaty people.
I love the MechWarrior 4 pilots, the little helicopter helmets and stuff like that.
Oh my god, yeah.
That's my favorite. But one thing I actually like about MechWarrior 5 is how almost every pilot has their own unique uniform and helmet and everything. Because if this conflict's been going on for 1,000 years, you're gonna get random bits of technology.
Oh yeah.
Especially if it's passed on from generation to generation.
Oh yeah, we're getting that chest hair.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right.
So do we have any more thoughts on the clans and what we'd like to see done with them?
I'd like to see more of them in the games. I think it's going to be hard to balance them, and I think no matter what we go with, someone's going to be unhappy. But as long as
it's Battletech, you're going to piss someone off.
yeah, as long as there's some attempt to even it out in some way, maybe take a little bit of suggestions from every approach. One idea I had was that I wish they had implemented in MWO was to have 12 Inner Sphere players and 10 clan players, and make the clan mechs slightly more powerful. So you get 2 stars of clan mechs and a full company of Inner Sphere mechs. I thought that could be a bit more interesting and a bit more balanced and would feel a bit more lore friendly rather than having 3 lances of clan mechs.
I can see how you might run into. I have trouble imagining like asymmetric team balancing necessarily being.
It's been done before, but yeah, that'd be pretty difficult. Although the different structure would make it a lot more interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 stars versus 3 lances is a lot better than just 3 lances versus 3 lances.
There's also the possibility, hypothetically speaking, the inner sphere could have things like AI helicopters and tanks supporting them, even if they're just really dumb basic AI.
Yeah.
True.
Just a couple of them, and that would slightly even things out if the clans are too powerful, or give the clans elementals that can be annoying and sort of draw fire from the
Basically,
decks.
basically tiny generators with a small laser and jump jets, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think we've sort of covered everything, and we're probably just going to go over the same points again and again because this is fun to talk about, and I need to shut up.
Yeah.
So you said earlier that this was a commission. Are you currently open for commissions?
I am indeed.
Oh, and what might a potential viewer who wants to buy one of your commissions pay for a drawing like this?
So this guy is ultimately going to end up being a fully painted, full color image. This is, believe, ran for about $200.
Okay.
Like a regular, like a standard black and white image, something like, say, this guy, painted up with a little bit more, a little bit more detail, is going to be like 100 to 150. Anything with like dynamics, like motions, lots of characters, stuff like that, we add a little bit more beyond it. Beyond that, we have like we do individual like character portraits, maybe small animations, music. Uh, Essentially, if you've got an idea, we can try to like work together and figure out a way to make it into a reality, which is always a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's basically what we're doing here, except we're all lazy, so we're not going to actually implement any of the stuff we talk about on this little podcast. But it's a blast, and I'm definitely tempted to commission a mech pilot portrait from you if I can ever figure out how to actually insert my own mech pilot character in Mech Warrior 5.
I've seen people be able to like change the icons, but you're talking about like a fully fleshed out, like a functioning character.
Yeah, something like that Freeman character. Um, or just, you have to go to a specific star system and hire them. Something as basic as that. I don't want to replace existing assets is basically my big thing.
Yeah. One day it may be possible.
All right. So yeah, check out Sirdubdub over on DC Bruins. His YouTube channel is full of all kinds of awesome music and animations. And Cogular, do you have anything of yours you want to plug, or are you just happy to be here?
I'm mainly just happy to be here. I mean, I do have a YouTube channel, but I
Plug
just
it.
do kind of... I have random stuff, but yeah.
What's the
How
title?
exactly does one plug?
The-
It's literally just my name, so Lecogular.
Lecogular?
Yeah.
Oh, right. So we'll have to check out that. And you're probably already on Farcast Animation. If not, what? I
How
don't
did
know
you
where
get
are.
here?
Yeah, I'm shocked.
Who
Thank-
are you? What did
thank
you
the-
do with yourself?
Thank the algorithm.
Yeah. Please subscribe and, yell at us in the comments if we got something wrong, if you hate our faces, which are incredibly ugly, take our word for it. That's why we don't have cameras.
Our faces definitely need more chest hair.
Yes.
Well, and that's why my profile picture is literally just me in a gas mask.
Perfect.
Indeed. And leave a comment. And what should we talk about next? We're always trying to think of new topics to be interesting. So if you have a suggestion, we might actually talk about something interesting for once.
Are you asking us or the audience?
Both.
The audience. I mean,
All right.
you guys don't have any good ideas. I should know. I've been talking to you for the last 45 minutes. God.
Goddamn losers, all of you.
Yeah. And I'm including myself in that bunch because I'm the biggest loser of all. I am the head loser.
The loser in chief.
Yes. Anyways,
Garcia's Brigade of Losers.
yes. Thank you guys for joining us. We're going to wrap up now, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
See you around.
Bye.